How's everyone doing? It's PR here, and for the first time in a while, I'm back at you with another video. This video is about me basically telling you why it's better to build through the draft than it is to build through free agency. I'm a huge fan of building through the draft because it's my personal belief that if you build through the draft, you will be more successful over a long period of time, especially me being a fan of the Eagles during that 2011 Dream Team season where the Philadelphia Eagles signed everyone and their grandma to high-profile contracts. Every high-profile Pro Bowl player. It was like they signed the 2009 Pro Bowl team and thought, oh, we're going to be so good. You know, since when did Howie Roseman, focus his inner Danny Snyder impersonation? But I don't know. It wasn't a good season. They had every high-profile free agent. They were really overrated, really overhyped. But the one issue was the fact that they didn't draft so well. You look at that draft class of 2011. Basically, all those players were gone within four years. They're all gone. None of them are on the team. And you look the next year, and I'll talk about the next team, you have multiple players from the next draft class who's currently on the team. I think the one player from that draft class that stayed for the longest was Casey Matthews, and he only stayed for like 3-4 years. He was expected to be an inside linebacker in the wide nine, and he ended up being a special teams player, which was absolutely crazy, seeing as though that was the position we drafted him in. I feel bad for the kid because he really shouldn't have been an inside linebacker in his first season in the NFL. But you look at the next season, the 2012 season, you have Fletcher Cox, Vinnie Curry, Michael Kendricks, Nick Foles. All four of those guys ended up being on that Super Bowl team, and all four of those guys ended up being starters. If you can draft at least 2 or 3 starters, 2 starters and a special teams player, 2 starters or 2 special teams players every single year, you'll be set. You will be set. Because if you can build those core players, you'll be amazing. You look at teams like the Cleveland Browns who have been unable to draft for years, and you think to yourself, man, if that team could just draft, they would be amazing. Also, if that team could coach, they would also be amazing. If that team could get free agents well, they could be amazing. I think the best players they've ever drafted was like Joe Thomas and Joe Hayden. What is it with Joes on the Cleveland Browns? I swear. There was a Jim Brown, I believe. I don't think there was a Joe Brown. I'm not sure. Who knows? Anything's possible. But you look at the Dream Team, right? You look at all these players on the Dream Team, and you're like, wow, these players should have been amazing. I mean, let's see what you had. You had Nnamdi, I eat my lunch in my car alone, Asamoah. You have Jason, I run with the Bulls and sleep with the Polar Bears, Babin. You have Vince, I'm going to call it the Dream Team Young. And I think the only good player from that whole free agency class for the Philadelphia Eagles happened to be Cullen Jenkins. I think he was like the only one with a Super Bowl ring. But either way, you look at last year's free agency class, and the Eagles really only got one high-priced free agent, which was Alshon Jeffrey, who, was the number 1 wide receiver on the team and, hopefully stays on the team for a few more years to come. But they also had Chris Long, who's probably the most generous player on the Philadelphia Eagles since Ellen DeGeneres. You have LeGarrette Blount, who, kind of took a contract discount with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know I'm missing a few others. Patrick Cuckoo Robinson. These guys ended up being major players on this team. And they weren't super high-priced free agents. Not all of them, at least. I don't mind if you sign 1 or 2 high-priced free agents, but don't make your whole offseason about signing high-priced free agents because it could work. But football is the kind of sport, the NFL at least is the kind of sport, where you're probably not going to win with a super team. This isn't baseball. This isn't basketball, where you have like the Golden State Warriors, who have they drafted a super team and they got Kevin Durant. That's really not how the NFL works. But, I see a lot of Eagles fans being like, oh, I want to get Ndamukong Suh. Oh, I want to get Richard Sherman. Oh, I want to get Aqib Talib's chain at home. I don't see the need to bring in a lot of these players. I know we traded for Michael Bennett, but I really don't want all these high-priced free agents. I would rather build through the draft because, again, you could draft these players and you don't have to offer them extremely mega contracts. I would rather go through the draft. I think the Eagles have done a decent job in the past few years getting 2-3 starters from basically every draft class and, making them into relatively star players. I think last year's draft was pretty good. The year before's draft was pretty good. 2014 was kind of a hiccup of a draft, but 2015 ended up being kind of decent. 2013, the Eagles get Zach Ertz. So I really do think that the quality of players that you're going to bring in are the quality players you're going to get through the draft. And sometimes if your coaching is good enough, you could be like Bill Belichick and bring in any 7th, 6th undrafted white receiver and make him a superstar. So really, my main message here is build through the draft. Don't build through free agency because you can keep players longer if they come from the draft. Or you just end up being like the Cleveland Browns, who can't draft anyone and they trade, picks away where they could draft someone really good, like Carson Wentz or Deshaun Watson. That's all I have. It's PR. Peace. I'm out. See ya.